Welcome to Thinkin' Rich with Amy Robles. This is the podcast made for you, the smart, ambitious woman. Thinkin' Rich is the show to help you think bigger, create your business you love, and keep your family first. We know when you enrich a woman's life, you help her entire circle of influence. Now here's your host, Amy Robles.
Welcome back to this episode of Thinkin' Rich. It's me, Amy Robles. We've got a lot to cover. So looking at my journey, looking at this whole process, looking at creating a podcast, starting a blog, actually getting this business up and running online, all of these different pieces and parts. And I would go and study this and learning about these tools, and that was really cool, but it didn't apply to me. And then I'd learn about something else, and it was really amazing, but it didn't have any sort of impact on what was happening right now in my business. And so people would kind of gloss over the topic of email, but nobody ever went through, and these are all the hard lessons I had to learn on what is so important about having an email list and how to do it correctly. And the thing is, every time I talk to a woman who is just getting started out with her business, she's really excited, she's got this great idea, but she's just not sure. And if she can sit down and talk it out with somebody for like 15 minutes, then she's pretty sure that she could sell the product. That's where we get in our own way. As smart, ambitious women, we are perfectionists. We like things done well. And if we can't get them done well, like our level, if everybody's here at level 4, and that's the standard and that's the guideline, then you expect a level 8 from yourself. But really, you're going to shoot for a level 12. Nobody tells you, we're here at level 4. Look, this is what we want, just for 4. Just reach for 4, and if you get 4, that's great. But you're shooting for a 12, and when you get a 10, and people are like, whoa, how did you do that? How did you accomplish that? It is almost like you feel like you just didn't do enough. And that is what makes us different. We are so driven. We grow and progress and push and lift the expectations for everyone else around us. That is an extraordinary quality that helps us in all capacities of life, but can hold us back in an online business. So what I've done is it's taken me a few weeks of really compiling my notes, going through reading years of study and practice and where I messed up and what I did wrong and how I would do things right, that this month, the month of February, is all about love and relationships and everything. And you got to make sure that that's important and you've got that element in your life. Yes. And what this means for online business is we're going to talk about the relationship you create with your reader, your listener, your subscriber, that person following you through your email. People gloss over it. People give a little bit of information, or they tell you one or two things, or worse, they say, here's a good email template. Use this. It's going to sell whatever you want to sell. Well, the problem is we are not sounding like ourselves. We're not doing it our right way. We're not doing it the way that rings true with us, these smart, ambitious women, just pushing forward and just creating these super high, unbelievable expectations we have of ourselves. And at the same time, be able to keep up with all the other components of life. This is what someone I just wish would have sat me down and say, girl, this is what you need. Focus on what you need to do every single day and make sure that these are the components. So this week is the broad strokes. We're going to start talking big picture, and then it's going to get a little more specific and a little more specific as we go on. So make sure you are here on Thursdays to get these episodes. Know how to write an email that sounds like you, that people would look at and read and they'd be like, oh my goodness, I can hear your voice. I can actually hear you saying this. Then they know you, build that trust, and can move forward. So here we go. To easily do successful email marketing and do it right, and do it right now with all of the other crazy components you have going on, I've broken it down into a few simple steps. These are the big, broad strokes. They always say when a painter gets a brand new canvas, the first thing they do is they take that big, broad brush and they paint the whole thing white. And why do they do that? And you do it when you put on your cosmetics. You're supposed to put on a primer and make the whole canvas smooth, right? This is what we're doing. I'm giving you the primer to actually create the canvas so you can make it yours. You can create the message. So that's what these are. Don't get lost in the mechanics right now. These are the broad strokes, and we'll move forward from there. First, have a strategy. When you go to battle, before you start the day, if you're a smart, ambitious woman, you have a plan. You know what you're going to move forward. You know what you want to have happen that day. You know the guidelines that are going to happen. You have already set the rules, the parameters, the boundaries. That is what's going to work. Well, that's exactly what you're doing when you have your email set up. You need to ask yourself, where do you want this reader to go? What do you want them to do? You are setting the rules on how you communicate. So while you're doing your email, just think about broad strokes. And I hope you know, we've gone through this a couple months ago about who is your perfectly delighted customer. They can't wait to hear more from you. They can't wait to know what's really going on with you in your business. That person. I've given mine a name. Her name is Kelly. I see her. I know her. I feel like she is a great friend and someone that I would want to sit down and have lunch with. And the more I'm talking on this podcast, the more I write my blog posts, I'm writing directly to Kelly. And when I do that, then it seems like all these other personalities come through and they're connecting. So you always want to make sure that you know who you're writing to and where do you want them to go next. What's the next thing? And the way you do that is you share your personality, you share a little bit about what you're doing, a little bit about what's going on, and you have one call to action. Sometimes people call it a CTA, your call to action, right? The one thing I want you to do. And you're going to put that in your email copy, which is just the words on the page of the email, to make sure that you are communicating this. If you want someone to tag you on Instagram and you want them to reply to the email and you want them to subscribe to a podcast and you want them to go to your online shop and click here and see the sale and every single thing, then it's too much. It's overwhelming. And people are going to be like, I do not have time for this. I have my own things to take care of. Now, let me give you a case in point. This morning, I got up, took a shower, sitting in bed for 5 more minutes, and that's when I kind of set up my day, go through exactly what's going to happen. And as I was sitting there, an email came from one of my favorite hand letterers. I love her personality. I love her style. And she, in that email, said, I promised you that I would tell you before I tell anybody else that this product is now in sale and it can be yours. Here's the discount. Within 2 minutes, I had already purchased a product and knew it was on for delivery to my house. I never would have done that if I would have seen her on Instagram or if I would have seen a Facebook post, because there's so much going on. There's so much noise as I'm scrolling through on my breaks that I'm missing it. But she sent me that email and just looking through, oh, my favorite hand lettering girl. There we go. There, click, click, click. Purchase was made. That's what you want to do with your customers. You have the strategy. You set up the rules. You know where you want to guide them. Next, number 2, be you, the real you, right? The number one reason, the more I talk to women about online business, is the reason you hate to sell online is because it feels pushy. It's because you don't want to talk to people like that. It's because it feels so like in your face. That is when you know you're not being you. See, the secret of all of this email marketing is this is about relationships. And business is all about the relationships that you build to move forward and progress with your business. So when you are writing your email, it's good to share you. Really, what's happening in your life. Now, just a couple of weeks ago in my mastermind group, we had this fascinating conversation about being authentic and completely transparent. And let's talk about that for just a minute. You can be authentic and say in an email, look, I've been working on some projects and I'm struggling right now. This has been difficult. What you're talking about is how you feel inside, what's going on, what lessons are you learning intellectually, and where you plan to go with this. That's being very authentic. We need more of that. It's so gross to just hear these email messages or these Facebook Lives of people saying, I've never had any business challenges. I just did about 7 clicks and now I'm making $4 million a month. It's just gross. That's not real life, right? So that if you can be authentic and share what's happening on the inside and what's going on versus being transparent, completely transparent, that is, you have the video and you show how ridiculous your house is in such a mess, or you share that my husband lost his job, my dog died, the things, right? Like a horrible country song. You just see all these really weird, crazy situations that much transparency is losing credibility, right? Does that make sense? Because what's happening, there could be a lot of things happening on the outside, but you are in control of what happens internally. And that is you being authentic, showing that this is where I am. I've had a couple of struggles and I'm moving forward. So in your emails, it is very good to be you, the real you. And instead of saying, all right, buy now, you can buy here in that ridiculous lounge lizard voice. And if it feels weird when you're writing it, then you're not being true. Now, there's a whole another level to this about let's be brave and let's put ourselves out there. But if you're doing it so much that it feels gross and you feel, and it's inappropriate and it feels like you've crossed the line, then you're not being authentic. That's the magic. We're going to talk a lot about that a little bit later, but I just wanted to talk about you've got to be you, and everybody just wants to see the real you. Number 3 is build community through your email. You know, you want to show that this reader right now, that there's a whole bunch of other people just like you, just like that one person. So technology has made us so independent and has advanced us forward in so many different ways, but it has made us isolated. We are losing daily interactions with what we're doing every day. When you take the time and you show what's happening, or you share a little bit about, look, this is an example that happened with one of my clients, and here's the results. What you're doing is making that connection. You're showing this interaction and this applies to you because. And instead of doing something and creating this whole kind of group mentality, you don't want sheep. Nobody wants sheep in their business. What you want is interdependence. All of these different people are doing their own different things, but this is how what I offer and what I sell has helped this person and this person and this person. And you may choose to only focus on one group of people, but then others watch and self-identify and want to be part of that group. And you have no power over who decides they want to be there. You are just focused on that one group. For example, I work with smart, ambitious women. I talk to them about their business. I talk to them about real life. How do they keep up with all the other things that are going on? And going through the process and the coaching and the guidance has been really, really fun. I have also had several conversations with very successful businessmen who may or may not have children, on what they can do to build up their online presence. Now look, I'm not focused on helping men build up their online presence, but they see what I'm doing and how I'm helping other businesses and other business owners that they have identified to work with me, learn more, and progress in their business. So how do you do that? How do you start building a community when you're just not sure or you're just starting out or you have a small list? In your emails, you can ask a question. How has this one thing worked for you? Or what have you seen? Or what else would you add to this list of suggestions? You could take a poll. Look, here's a poll, and there's a lot of different services where you can take any sort of poll and embed it in there. There's a couple of tools to do that. We'll talk about that down the road look, is this more important or this? And then they can see right there. I've seen on Twitter where a lot of people who are not as popular have built up a large following just by doing poll after poll after poll, just getting the overall consensus. That's a very interesting way to pull in people. All right, that brings us to number 4. Tell a story. You want to show your empathy. You want to be an expert and share your eccentricities. I know, 3 E's. Who knew that? You want to be able to show that, look, I know where you're coming from. I know what's going on. And if you're teaching something that's a little, maybe you're teaching woodworking and this one tool is hard to get used to. And this is the trick that you use. Instead of pushing with your hands, you're more using the outside the shoulder, the way the wood is moving into this saw. That might be something that shows that you understand exactly where they're coming from. But you also want to show yourself as the expert of this is what I've learned. And then this is something I don't think enough people talk about. It's cool to share your eccentricities. One of my recent guests, Mandy Green, was on the show and she loves flamingos. We should have talked a little bit about flamingos. Not because flamingos is about her business, but it shows her personality and people connect with that. So by telling a story of what's going on in your life, that's how you can pull customers in and they become part of your story. One thing that's been really surprising for me is I love tacos. It's just been part of my life. And so I'll put little memes or I'll put funny things about tacos and just in randomly. And lately, a lot of people have been sending me 1 little, 2 little things that they see that's talking about tacos. I saw this, totally thought of you, which is funny because we don't talk about tacos here. This isn't what this podcast is about. But somehow that has become something that reminds them of me just by who I am, by showing the little eccentricities. Your story. When you tell a story in your email, I'm not saying pages and pages and pages that all of a sudden you decide to send a 5,000 word document of all the different things that you've thought of the past 2 days, because that's not using your time wisely and that's not really working on creating the message you want to see. In a future episode, we're going to talk about how to write your story, how to make it concise, how to make it to the point and pull it back into your business. You can tell an excellent story in just a few lines, paint a picture so that your audience knows and can read what you are saying and understands what's going on. The best advice, actually from Mark Slemons, that was on a recent episode, is show them the train wreck. Everybody loves to see the train wreck. Show them it's hard. Show them what I'm working on is not easy. We've got to go through this and figure out the pieces, but it's really crazy trying to get everything done. When you show them, you're creating that empathy, and then you're showing how to overcome that and creating that, building that piece of being the expert and showing who you are and building trust. See, relationships, all of this comes down to if there's 2 businesses and they're pretty much exactly the same, and this one business owner is very professional, place is clean, it looks nice, and then you leave, and then you go to the other place, the place is very professional, it's clean, it's nice, But this guy used to bowl with your uncle, knows the family, asks what's happening, that whole thing. Who do you think people are going to do business with? The person that they know, they like, and they trust. We don't have time as business owners to sit down with somebody for 20, 25 minutes and talk them through. That's old school sales. That's how they would build trust. It was all about being able to gab with someone. It was able to just, where are you? What's going on? It's fun to be with you. That sort of thing. Now we have to package and send out little messages to create that relationship, and we do it little by little using email marketing. That's what this is about. Finding ways to build relationships with people so they know you, they like you, and they trust you. Number 5, be the teacher. And people are thinking, I didn't go into education. I don't have patience with students. That's not what I'm talking about. That is not what this is all about. I want you to think of these words in your mind all the time as you're writing an email. Take it, write it out on a Post-it, put it right above your computer, put it on your laptop on the side, somewhere you can see it. Make a graphic and put it as your screensaver so you see it every single time. Guide my group. That's all I'm going to do is I'm going to guide my group. You are the teacher. You show them how. I know, I can almost hear you saying out loud, but Amy, I'm not a teacher. I just never been really good about standing up and showing them and writing it out on the whiteboard. It's just too much pressure. I'm not a good teacher. Stop. You are probably excellent at making sure that the laundry is perfectly done, everything's folded and put away on time. What are the steps, right? Step 1, you've got to make sure that they're organized. Do you keep separate hampers? Do you do the laundry every single day? Do you do whites on Monday and colors on Wednesday? What is your system? This is what it is about teaching. It's breaking it down. As I was preparing to do the email marketing and show you the components, there were so many things that I wanted to tell you that I had to just step away from the computer and sit down and write. And I just started writing, and I've got 5 pages of notes specifically on this topic and then had to break this down. And then we'll talk about the tools, and then we're going to talk about this and all the steps, because there's so much that you already know on whatever you're doing that you don't see it. They call this the curse of expertise. Once you start learning something and you get really, really good at it, then you are thinking and talking about that, and it's all going through in your mind at a level 9 or a 10 at all times, right? You're always thinking about what's going on, and while you're doing the dishes, you can see this problem and you're working it through, and you're thinking how you could do this, and then you could cross over and fix this part. You're like so involved in it, you don't realize. The rest of the world, in whatever your area is your expertise, is at a level 1 or a 2, maybe a 3. Usually they're at a 1 or a 2. So when you start breaking down these steps, and you break it down even more simply, and then you break it down a little bit more, and then you break it down even more so, you feel like, dude, I'm totally dumbing this down. That is not what you're doing. You are at a level 10, and you are very good at what you're doing. You're trying to break it down, and usually you break it down to a 7. What you've got to do is come down even more to a 3 and a 2. And it feels like you're talking basic, bare bones essentials. Let me give you an example of this. Just this holiday, over Christmas, our family got the Instant Pot. Now, it's one cool gadget. And I got a pressure cooker for a birthday gift a couple of years ago, and I have used that thing like crazy to do our beans that we eat regularly. But I hadn't branched out, right? I hadn't branched out on how else to use the pressure cooker. So all of a sudden I have the Instant Pot, which is electric pressure cooker, plus it does all these other things. And so I started looking through YouTube videos like crazy. Instant Pot this, you can make this, you can do this chicken. Look, we take it frozen, we put it in, we add these couple of things, and it's so delicious, and then you can do this. Well, I could not find a basic, brand new beginner's guide on how to turn on the Instant Pot. How do you turn it on? How do you check that the lever is set? How do you know when it's done cooking? If I would have seen a video that would have said, this is the bare bones, you just took it out of the box, this is what you need to do, step 1, here's step 2, and here's step 3, I would have followed that person with every other recipe, just because I felt so new and not knowing. And that's what's happening with you and your business, you and the product that you offer, what you have. You are already the expert. You already have the knowledge. You haven't given yourself enough credit yet. So what you need to think is, guide my group. All I've got to do is take step 1 to step 2 to step 3. So maybe you need to step away, write down a few things, write what works, write how you do this process, and then you do this process and move to the next thing. Put them in some sort of order so you can teach those kind of steps. Now, we're going to talk about a whole lot about how to guide my group, how to be the teacher, and how to create an email sequence, which is, I know this is a lot of terminology, it's going to come up later. I'm going to teach you how to create your very first email course to teach the product and service that you offer, because people are going to know more about you. They're going to get to know your personality. They're going to start really liking you, and they're going to trust you, right? Think about that very first day of 7th grade. Do you remember 7th grade? You're old enough to know that school's going on. You're in junior high, and it's a huge, big school, and now you've got multiple teachers, not just one. And so you go into 3rd period math, and you're like, bare bones algebra, right? This is where you are. You see the teacher. You don't know anything about them. You've judged them based on how they look. That's what's happened with people when they go to your website. But you think, I don't know, man, this guy, this might be miserable. But then they start talking, and he's hilarious. And all of a sudden, he's making math so fun that not only do you kind of like it, that you find yourself doing algebra homework before you're doing anything else because it's so fun. Your teacher has really inspired that. When you create an email mini course, that's what you're doing. People have seen your website, they've seen your online presence, they've seen you on Instagram, they really like what they've seen, and they want to learn a little more about you. So they click on the link, they start seeing, and then they hear a little bit about you. And then they hear this funny story. And then you tell them about that one time that you weren't going to tell anyone and it was so embarrassing. But then how that applies to what you're teaching, that's the magic of email marketing. And as smart, ambitious women, we are doing this every single day. We're the ones that go to the school and we know the secretary by name and we can say hello to the janitor and we talk to the people as we run through the building, just grabbing a couple of things, doing what we need to do to get on to the next thing so we can go to the other organization. We know people. We've already created these relationships that what we can do is take these high-level relationships and turn them into really, really trustworthy relationships. That's the power. And here's the final step for today. While you are making your email marketing, while you're creating these emails, while you're writing the copy and pulling them and setting up the strategy and going through all the steps, you want to make sure that you are acting as the reporter in the process. So you set this up and you tell them, okay, this is my next product. This is what I'm offering. I'm excited to offer this to you. And here we go. Make sure you're answering all of the W's. Who, why, when, where, what, and how. When you answer the questions before they are asked, you are actually guiding them. You're taking them through the experience and really creating that. I've created a worksheet for you with all of this information on how you can apply it directly to your business, where you can go from here and to move forward. If you'd like that, click on the link below and I'll send you that email directly. This is going to be so much fun. I'm really excited about where we're headed with this. I'm excited to see how your email marketing strategy improves and how that helps your overall business. Hey, thanks for listening. I love sharing this with you, and I have been really excited about sharing how to step over those things that really held me back and do better so you and your business can excel. Enrich your life and your bottom line. Hey, have a great week, and I'll talk to you soon.
Thanks for listening today. Remember, you can enrich your life and your bottom line. It starts with you. See you next time on Think Enriched with Amy Robles.